So today we are going to discuss Azure services, its basics. So first of all, we will see how to create a free account for exploring Azure services. So this is the link. It is already open. So from here you can create your account. You need to provide credit card details. Now we will see its fundamentals. What is Microsoft Azure? We have seen this, how to create free account. Okay, so now we will go step by step. I am starting like what is Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform from Microsoft. This is Azure portal. It is a cloud computing platform from Microsoft. Initially it was called Windows Azure, and later it was renamed to Microsoft Azure. So it is a collection of services, and it offers a wide variety of services like Cosmos DB, and you can say app service, function apps, logic apps. So there are multiple services available through Azure. Once you create your login, you can log into this portal.azure.com to check your billing information. So from here you can click on this and go to cost management plus billing. So when you sign up for Azure, it creates a subscription. Initially it is a free subscription, right? And after 30 days, when it expires, then Microsoft gives you provision to upgrade to pay as you go subscription. As you can see here, so it's my subscription ID. It's currently active. So whenever we want to check like how much cost is incurred, so we can always come here in cost management plus billing and check your current usage. We can categorize services offered by Microsoft Azure in three categories. The first category is infrastructure as a service. So in infrastructure as a service, we get hardware like a virtual machine from Microsoft, and we have to configure each and everything. So in infrastructure as a service, we rent or lease IT infrastructure from a cloud service provider like Microsoft. Okay, and same concept is applicable for AWS and Oracle Cloud. Each cloud provider has infrastructure as a service. So the cloud service provider provides the infrastructure over an internet connection or through a virtual private network. So service provider, or you can say here cloud provider, is responsible for procuring physical servers, storage and related hardware, and installing and set up the network, proper power supply, backup, cooling system. So each and every aspect of you can say for hosting our services, it will be installed by cloud provider. So suppose we have to host our .NET application or any other like Java application. So we will develop that application locally and we test it, and after that we need to procure hardware from cloud provider. So we have to select the server size, like how many gigs of RAM should be there, number of virtual CPU, and as per the selection, the cloud provider will create a virtual machine for us, and then we have to configure each and everything, like we have to install a framework and the required libraries, database. So the development environment, or you can say hosting environment, we have to install, like web server we need to install and configure, and after that we can deploy our code there. So in case of Microsoft Azure, we have a virtual machine. So this you can see here, virtual machine is an example of infrastructure as a service. Okay, then we have a platform as a service. In platform as a service, we can procure a ready-made environment for deploying our services. Like if we have to install a .NET 9 application, so then we can create a app service. So app service is an example of platform as a service from Microsoft. So we can create app service, and while creating the app service in Azure portal, we can mention the target framework. Like we need to use a .NET 9. So once we select once we done our selection through portal, so Azure will configure the underlying infrastructure. Like it will install .NET 9, done all the settings on the server. We have to only deploy our code. So we are responsible only for developing and testing our code locally, and then we on the provided environment, we need to deploy our code, and it will be up and running. So app service is the example of platform as a service. We have a question here: how to decide whether we need a virtual machine or an app service? So if your application has a custom deployment, like there is some dependency which needs to be installed on the server, like you have some Visual Basic 6 or some other language component like Java. So in that case, we can't go entirely from app service, because we have other dependencies apart from .NET, right? So in that case, we need to use virtual machine. So we need to configure and install other dependencies like VB6 component or Java component, and we also need to deploy our application on IaaS, that is web server. Okay, so if you have multiple dependencies apart from .NET, then go for virtual machine. And if our code has entirely .NET components, then go for app service. Okay, so then we have a software as a service. So in software as a service, like all the hardware and software is maintained by cloud provider for us. We are just simply subscribing it and using it, and we are paying it monthly subscription. So example here is like Gmail, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Dropbox, Google Drive, and Office 365. So when each and every aspect like hosting and installation, development, all aspects of the software are managed by cloud provider. So that is example of software as a service. Now we will see how to create a virtual machine, and then we will discuss other aspects like a resource and resource group, and then we also discuss availability zones, availability sets. So let's proceed with virtual machines. So for creating the virtual machine, we can simply click from here, virtual machines, or we can go from here, virtual machines. So click on create virtual machine. Here we are trying to procure a Windows server in cloud. So in this case, cloud provider, that is Microsoft, it will create a virtual machine for us, and we can use that machine for our hosting or for deployment purpose. We need to select the subscription. So initially when you create your account, so it will be like a free subscription. Then we need to select resource group. So resource group is a, you can say, logical grouping of your Azure resources. Like if you're working on multiple projects, like there is some project for finance, there is some for e-commerce. So project wise you can create resource groups, so that to easily identify the resources associated with each project. And there is no cost for creating the resource group, because it is a logical entity. So we need to select a machine name, and then comes the region. So there are multiple regions in world for Microsoft cloud. So we need to select a region which is near to our location. Okay, so like I'm here in India, so it's by default it has populated central India, but we can define other regions as well. Okay, like most of the services are available in US or Europe, so I'm selecting North Europe. Then we have option of availability options for availability zone. So so availability zone is like it is a data center, and like each region has multiple data centers. So an Azure availability zone is a physically separate data center within an Azure region. Like I'm selecting North Europe. So in North Europe, there will be multiple data centers. So availability zone represents a data center. So each data center, or you can say each availability zone, has a independent power, cooling, and networking. If there is a failure in a certain region, and we have availability zones, so it means we have multiple copies of our services deployed in multiple data centers within the region. Suppose I'm deploying some service in central India. So in central India there will be multiple data centers. So if I'm selecting this availability zone option, so there will my service will be deployed on multiple data centers, and if there is some network failure or some any sort of outage, so in that case my service will be available. It's not a total failure of service. So suppose in some data centers there will be outage, but it will be available in some other data center. So I'm selecting no infrastructure redundancy required. We have one more availability set. So availability set is like it's a grouping in within a data center. Okay, so if you want that like availability zone is not a feasible option for you, so you can go for availability set. Availability sets are logical grouping of virtual machines in one data center that reduce the chance of failures. Availability sets place virtual machine in different fault domains for better reliability. So again, it like if there is some failure within a data center and you have availability sets available for you, in that case there will be chances that your service is not impacted. Now here we need to select the desired operating system for our Windows server, right? So you can, if you are not sure which one to procure, so you can click on see all images. So we are selecting the target operating system for our virtual machine. So I'm searching here. So we have multiple options here, like Windows Server 2016. Okay, so we can select as per our requirement. So I am leaving this as it is, and this is for our x64 based machine. And we can select here like how many virtual CPU we want, and what is the required RAM size. North Europe. Okay, now we can see the cost. Okay, now I'm providing username. So now I'm keeping all these as default. So it will create a virtual network. So virtual network is a software based network for our virtual machine, and it will create a separate resource for public IP, subnet, network security group. So network security group is used for filtering incoming and outgoing traffic. Okay, and it will also configure inbound port rules, and by default it will configure for RDP, and we can configure our port rules for port 80. So we will see that later. Okay, now we can also define monitoring. It's for logging purpose. So I'm keeping this all default, clicking on review plus create. Now click on create button. So this is the cost for per hour. It will take some time. So we got confirmation that Azure resource is created. So click on here, go to resource. So we can see public IP is created. So this is the public IP. We also have subnet, and subscription is pay as you go. Okay, so from here we can like download RDP file to connect with virtual machine. We can restart from here, we can stop, we can also delete the virtual machine. And here are the details. And these are the actions which we can perform here. Like if you go here, network settings, so we can see here network interface, virtual network, public IP, and we can see here our port rules. So currently we have a rule for RDP, and there is no rule for HTTP. So currently HTTP traffic is blocked on the server. Okay, only RDP connection is allowed. Now go to home. Now you can see here we have one resource for virtual machine, but there are multiple resources which are associated with virtual machine, like separate resource for public IP, network security group, virtual network, and we have separate resource for disk. Now we will try to connect with this virtual machine. So click here, connect. So from here we can download RDP file. So we need to provide the same password which we have given while creating the virtual machine. So we have logged into virtual machine. So we can configure this server as per our requirement. So I will show you how to configure web server. So we have this server manager window open. So click on add roles and features. So let's wait for some time. Click on next. So keep this as selected, role based or feature based installation. Click on next. Now we need to select web server, IaaS. Click on add features, click next, next, install. So we are installing web server, Internet Information Services, and using that web server we can host our .NET web applications on this server. Installation is completed. Click on close. Go to overview. So this is public IP. So if we try to access this now, we will not able to access it because HTTP port rule is not added. So now we will try to add this HTTP port rule. Go to network settings. So you can see this site cannot be reached. So click on create port rule and we need to select inbound port rule because we are trying to connect to that server through HTTP protocol. So select HTTP here. Click on add. So now you can see we can now send request over port 80 using HTTP protocol. Now try to refresh this. So you can see we are getting default page of IaaS. Okay, so it means now communication is established on port 80. Now we will see how to get alert when we are exceeding a certain limit of budget. Okay, for this we need to use service cost management. So go here, reporting plus analytics. Click on cost analytics. You can access it from here, or you can click on all views and it will show you accumulated cost. So click on this. So it will show the cost which is incurred on the resources which we have utilized so far, and it will also show forecast for the current month. Okay, now how to send alert if we are exceeding some limit. So for that, go to monitoring and click on budgets. So here click on add. Like I'm setting up a monthly budget. Okay, suppose I'm saying that per month I'm supposed to spend up to 3000. Okay, so here we can mention the alert conditions. So at what moment it will send us the alert. So like actual cost, it means I have spent this much cost. Like I'm saying I have spent 70% of that amount, 3000. Okay, so when it will reach to 2100, okay, then it will send us alert, and we have to mention here our email on which the alert is to be sent. So once you click on create, so it will create a budget alert, and each month it will send you if we are exceeding the limit. So for keeping this cost in control, we need to delete the resources as soon as we are done using them. So click here, all resources. So select all resources, click on delete button, type delete to confirm. It will delete all the resources which we have created. Now we will see example of platform as a service. We can see app service here. So using this service, we can host our applications which are developed in like in Java, Ruby, Python, PHP, .NET. Okay. Okay. So click on this create button, web app. Again here we need to mention a resource group just to logically group the resources. Here we need to provide a unique name because it will form a URL. So I have tried to give a unique name. It is asking whether we need to containerize our app or not. So I'm selecting this code. Now we need to select runtime. So I'm selecting .NET 9, or we can select other like Java, Node.js, PHP, Python. Then based on .NET 9, since it is also supporting Linux and Windows, so we have option. So I'm selecting Windows. Now we need to select region, in which Azure region this service will be hosted. So I'm leaving this as it is. Now for customizing the underlying infrastructure, we have this Windows plan. Okay, it's populating a default plan. We can also create new. Okay, and we can also select pricing as per our requirement. Like if we need more memory, so you can see we have 8 gigs of memory and 2 virtual CPU, right? So we can configure as per our requirement, like how many gigs of RAM we required, how many virtual CPU we require. It will like deploy our service in multiple regions if we select this. So I'm keeping this as disabled. Okay, click on review plus create and keeping other tabs as default. Click on create button. So here this is the example of platform as a service. Okay, so here we will get a dedicated infrastructure for us with the selected dotted framework installed. So we don't have to configure anything on the server, and even we are not able to access that server. Okay, because that access is not provided to us in the case of platform as a service. So we have to mention the associated infrastructure which we require, like virtual CPU and the required amount of gigs of RAM, and then uh, which framework we intended to use, like whether we want to .NET 9 or we want some like Java environment. So as per our selection, that required environment will be created for us by Microsoft Azure. And after that, we have to develop our code and test our code locally, and we just only need to deploy our code on this app service, and we will be able to use it. So click on go to resource. Here we are getting this browse button. Click on browse button, and this is the default page of our app service. Okay, so once we upload our, or you can say once we deploy our code, it will be replaced by the home page of our web application. So in the next section we will see how to uh, develop and deploy our .NET based application, and how to configure each and everything of app service, including deployment slots. So this is the example of platform as a service. We have one more example, that is function app. Function app, so it's kind of a web service or API. So if you have some sort of code which is a centralized piece of code, and it is required by multiple projects, like you can say generating thumbnail of image, or like doing some activity which is common for multiple applications. So in that case, we can host our that centralized code in function app. Okay, so there are multiple pricing applicable for function app. So the preferred one is like a number of executions. So in that case, Microsoft Azure will calculate billing as per the number of calls, and at present we have 1 million calls free in a month. So that will be preferred if you have some common code and you want to host it, and that will be being utilized by multiple applications. So we will also see how to develop function app in upcoming sessions. So for developing this, we have two choices. Either we can create this in portal, and for that we have limited support for the language. Like for Node.js we can create in portal, and if you select for .NET, we need to develop in our IDE, either VS Code or Visual Studio, and after from there we can deploy. So we need to give a unique name because it will be part of a URL, and we can select .NET or Node.js or Python. If I select Node.js, so function app is created. Click on go to resource. So we have multiple options like creating in portal, creating through VS Code or other editors. So I'm clicking here, creating Azure portal. In case of .NET, we have an option for creating only in IDE, not in portal. Earlier we had this option, but it was removed. So here we need to select the trigger. It means the condition when our code will be invoked. So I'm selecting HTTP trigger. So the code will be called through HTTP request. So you can see here. So it's expecting a query string with the name. So name is the like key, query string key. So either it is expecting through query string or through HTTP post. Okay. Click on get function URL. Okay. So we have copied that URL and appended the query string. So I have appended the query string in the end. So this is the query string. Okay. So it is reading the query string and giving this output. So we can also do HTTP post to this URL. Okay. So removing this. Okay. So excluding this, it will be the URL and we have to do HTTP post. Okay. And it will read either through query string or HTTP post and it will give us the result. So this is the example of developing your code through portal